We're into the final days of 2025, and what a year it's been for Nick Suzuki. Since January 1st, he has collected 86 points, just 3 points shy of Vincent Danfus for the most by a Montreal Canadien over the last 30 years. So safe to say it's been a tough night for the Montreal Canadiens, but Suzuki's rise to stardom continues to be one of the great stories when it comes to the Habs this season. He's also caught the eye of the Canadian Olympic team and their head coach, who happens to be in town tonight. With more on that and everything that's going on with the Montreal Canadiens, here's Jon Still with Arpon Basu with the latest Arpon's Notebook.
Arpon, Oliver Kapanen makes it 4-1 for the Canadiens, so the comeback is on as we go into the third period for the Habs. But, it's been difficult not to be focused on what's going to be happening 3 weeks from now. The Olympics, everyone's been talking about it for forever, and now we're getting that much closer to Canada actually naming their team for the Olympics. Jon Cooper spoke earlier today. Nick Suzuki's on the bubble. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, Jon Cooper kind of expected it and was surprised it took us 4 minutes to get to the Olympic topic. We had a lot of other things to sort of warm him up with, but obviously Nick Suzuki is in the conversation. Jon Cooper has always had a lot of respect for Nick Suzuki. His game has spoken about him in glowing terms in the past. One interesting thing he did say about Nick Suzuki today, though, was he brought Marty St. Louis into it, and sort of mentioned how he coached him. He's fostered a friendship with him, is what he said, and really has come to respect him as a colleague. And so he sort of related that about how Suzuki's used in Montreal. Now, obviously tonight has not been the best for Nick Suzuki, but just the fact that, Marty St. Louis' usage of Nick Suzuki, how that's a selling point to Jon Cooper. And obviously he's not management. He's not the one making the selection, but no one should kid themselves. He has a big influence on who gets picked here. Doesn't mean Nick Suzuki's going to get picked. But I just thought it was interesting that, the fact that Marty uses him in so many different situations and really leans on him heavily as captain of this team appears to be one of the criteria that Team Canada is looking at least from Jon Cooper's perspective.
Marty St. Louis speaking this morning about speaking to Jon Cooper, one of the players who's definitely going to the Olympics, Juraj Slafkovský with Team Slovakia. And it feels like we are seeing a moment for Slafkovský where he is developing into that first overall pick everyone wanted to see. Goes down to the second line, now back up on the first line. What's changed in your mind for Juraj Slafkovský?
Well, I think it's the fact that the puck's on his stick more often. It's really quite evident. We even saw it on a few occasions tonight. It hasn't really worked yet, but the fact that the puck's on his stick and the fact that he is making more of those, sort of those rink-wide passes that were going against them last year and earlier this season, those are turning into turnovers, opportunities for the other team. Now they're connecting more often. I was talking to Cole Caulfield about it this morning, and one thing he mentioned is that those used to be hope plays, and now he knows they're going to be executed, and he's not hoping that to get something out of it. But another thing he mentioned was just the fact that Slafkovský has the puck on his stick kind of changes the dynamic for their line, particularly on zone entries. We saw in a couple occasions tonight where Slafkovský carried the puck through the neutral zone. At one point, he carried a goal line all the way into the offensive zone. And that frees up Nick Suzuki in particular, but even Caulfield to receive what he called the kick out. And basically that, in Suzuki's case in particular, Caulfield was saying that is just a whole other perspective for Suzuki to work with. He's able to see the entire defense, look for seams, and try to make kind of more high-end plays when that happens. And that only happens because Juraj Slafkovský has the puck on his stick. And he was joking to me a little while ago that he said, maybe it took me leaving their line for them to see that I can actually carry the puck, and now they want to give it back to me. And so I relayed that to Caulfield today. And he's like, we always knew he could do it, but he kind of acknowledged that was a pretty funny line. But still, it's a sign of the growth of Juraj Slafkovský and really another step he's taken in his career here.
Whether at even strength or on the power play, Juraj Slafkovský going to be needed going into the third. Canadiens down 4-1. Arpon, thank you.
Thanks, John.